Hello everybody and welcome this evening to our latest Glasgow Loves EU lockdown livestream. And this evening we're really pleased to be chatting with Debbie Williams all the way from, or she's in Spain, and she's from Brexpats, Hear Our Voice. So we're going to be hearing the experience of the UK folk who are living in Spain this evening. So looking forward to that. And just to say, we've also got this evening Bernd doing the technical things, and Jenny, who'll be looking at your social media comments. So if you'd like to send in questions or comments via Facebook or Twitter or Twitch this evening, then please do that and we'll try and bring them into the discussion. So if you've got questions for Debbie, please send them in. So hello again to Debbie, and Brexpats Hear Our Voice. She founded the group, and she's also got connections with the Limbo project and the British in Europe, so she'll be able to tell us about that. They've been campaigning for citizens' rights for the 5 million UK folk in the EU 27, and about our loss of freedom of movement, which affects all of us in the UK. So Debbie, can you start off by telling us about Brexpats and why you started it?
Yes, well, I'd never been involved in anything like this before. I've never been a campaigner or been particularly interested in politics before, so it was a new experience. But I started the group the day after the referendum result in 2016. It was a reaction to what's going to happen to us sort of thing. What if we don't have freedom of movement? And I'd heard all the Leave campaigners saying, oh, citizens' rights will be fine, nothing will change, you know, it'll all be the same. And I thought, hang on, let's just be sure of that. So I started the group the day after with a couple of friends on Facebook. And it's just gone from there, really. And here we are, you know, over 4.5 years later. Is it 4.5 years? It feels like about 40. Still here, still plugging away.
Good for you. So, and you said you were involved in a legal campaign with Jolly and Mom, which...
Yes, that was one of the first legal challenges, and it was in 2018. So it's Jolyon approached myself. I was living in The Hague at the time, and a few other groups and a few other British living in the Netherlands to see if we wanted to become claimants in this legal challenge about EU citizenship and the inalienability of EU citizenship. And so we agreed and we took part. Unfortunately, Brexpats, the group was dismissed, but I stayed on as a claimant. And so it was Jolyon, Morn and Bureau Brandeis in Amsterdam were representing us. And we went to the lower court in Amsterdam, and the judge there heard all the evidence and decided that there was a case to answer. So what we were looking for was a referral to the Court of Justice, the European Court of Justice, asking about Article 20 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union and the meaning of EU citizenship, and, you know, could it be taken away when a member state leaves, in simplistic terms. And the judge said, yes, there is a case to answer. It's a very valid legal question. So he did. He referred us. He recommended that the Court of Justice heard us. Unfortunately, the Dutch government appealed, and we then lost at the Court of Appeal. But I'm just reading here from my notes. There was a positive from the Court of Appeal, although they didn't dismiss the original referral and said it was inadmissible in its current form. They did say the court did rule that the position of Britons living in the EU after Brexit should indeed, as a matter of EU law, be decided by the ECJ. So, I mean, that was open, and there are, I think, at the moment, 2 cases going through, I think one in the UK and one in France on a similar theme, which is interesting. So we keep an eye on those. But unfortunately for us, that was the end of the road for us. But it was very interesting going through all that, and quite nerve-wracking, actually.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Yes, and do you know the name of who's involved in the UK case then?
I can't remember, actually. Yeah. I'm sure I've gone a blank and I haven't written it down.
Yeah.
But I should have said that, of course, the case that we were involved in, probably like all these cases, although it was particularly focused on British living in the Netherlands and British living in the EU, it would have had a bearing on all British passport holders. If the clarity had been given and we were allowed to you know, to keep our EU citizenship. It would have been for everybody, not just for us. So it was like a test case. So that's how we felt, that we were being inclusive of everybody, not just, you know, British living in the European Union.
Right. Okay. So you sent some articles. So what I'll do is I'll copy those under the live stream afterwards, and people can read about that. And we might remember the name of the British guy.
Yeah, maybe somebody else who's watching can type it in.
Good. So can you just tell us a bit more about how are the people getting on in Spain and the community, and what are the problems and things?
There are a few issues. I mean, Spain, citizens' rights in Spain, actually, I would have to say, is not as complex as some with regards to residency, because it's what's called a declaratory country. So that means those of us that are legally residents, we just swap our residency cards in for a new version, which is like a third country national version, and it says that we have rights under the withdrawal agreement. There are still a few teething problems with that, and you know, it's not all perfect, but compared to some countries which has got a constitutive system, which is a bit like EU settled status, so you have to reapply for your residency. You have to reapply to stay in your own home. And I think, I'm sure somebody will correct me, that there were 10 countries that were constitutive, 14 declaratory. So it's not easy. It's not as easy. And because of COVID as well, that's added delays. People can't get appointments, and so on and so forth. So it's not a piece of cake. And you know, the same thing for driving licenses. People have to swap their driving licenses. So as far as those being allowed to continue to live your life broadly as you could before, as Theresa May famously said, infamously said, it's not quite the case, but I'm sure we can go into that a little bit more later on. So it depends where you live. It depends on the member state. There's still a lot of unanswered questions that we have, and you know, but as far as Spain is concerned, yes, there are problems, but it does seem to be going quite fairly smoothly anyway, for most of us.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And I guess it would be different issues again for people that would want to move after.
Well,
you know,
I mean,
in 2021.
if you move after, that's it. You have to go through the immigration system of the country that you're moving to.
Yeah.
You know, those of us that moved before, you know, the end of the transition, then we are covered by the withdrawal agreement, and we have those rights for life.
Yeah. Oh well.
But of course, they're lacking in there's some things are missing, like onward mobility, that, you know, freedom of movement.
Yeah.
And some professional qualifications are not covered. So that's going to be one thing. People may have to have their qualifications transcribed in the country that they're living in. If they don't do it beforehand, and some are not even covered in the withdrawal agreement, like the legal profession. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So yeah, there's still some open-ended questions that need answering, and it's not all plain sailing.
Oh well, good. Well, I hope it works out for everybody. Yeah. So you've been involved in campaigning then about this. What types of things have you been doing?
Oh, I can't remember. I have to say as well, when a lot of this is my own opinion as well. So I can't, although I do represent other groups, I'm not necessarily reflecting the views of those groups. I should be clear on that. A lot of this will be my own opinion. But campaigning wise, when we started the group in 2016, I had a couple of meetings. At the time I was living in Brussels, which was very handy. So I was able to go to the European Parliament, and I met a couple of outstanding British MEPs. It's a shame that they're not there anymore. And the first person I met was Jean Lambert, who was a Green MEP, and she took our concerns very seriously and was one of the first people to invite me to a forum to speak. And I did. And that's where I met Nicholas Hatton from the 3 Million. And we talked a lot about citizens' rights and what the loss of freedom of movement meant for us. And my group is not just, or our group is not just British citizens living in the EU, although that's the primary focus. It's EU citizens living in the UK and UK citizens living in the UK and the rest of the world. It's a small group, but we wanted to be inclusive. So hopefully we've been able to represent, at least give everybody a little bit of a voice, not always successfully. But so yeah, that was the first thing I did, was this Green Party Forum in London, and it was really interesting. I did a lot of research for that. Oh, so many things, like so many meetings and events and marches and campaigns, like letters to Europe, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even think what I did yesterday, let alone 4 years ago.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah, you were saying that this time last year you were at the 12th. It was the 12th of October.
I think the 5th. I can't remember, the 5th October. We were at the Rally for Our Rights in London, but actually 2 years ago, yesterday, we were in the European Parliament presenting the In Limbo project books to the European Parliament, and that was a magnificent day. You know, a very big high in. Although it's sad that you have to do it, it was a big high in that we were able to do this in the European Parliament. It was an amazing day. Considering most of the last 4 years have been lows.
Yeah. Oh, I know. No, I mean, it's been, meeting the people on the marches has always been fabulous, really.
Yeah. It's been what's kept us going. All of us, I think, we've all met such wonderful people doing this, and that's really made it special. I mean, that's the big takeaway from all of this for me, is the people. Incredible, all volunteers, all doing this in their spare time, and it's just amazing people.
Yeah. Oh, that's good for you. And what else was I going to ask? Yeah, I think you've sort of mentioned the difficulties for workers and things, and like the single market just made things so much easier, didn't it?
It did. I mean, you know, if you want to talk a little bit about loss of freedom of movement, I mean, for all of us, and we're quite well aware that you guys living in the UK have lost your freedom of movement as well. So, you know, sadly, for us here, and those of us working, and the British living in Europe, 80% of us are working age or younger. So we're not, you know, all retired. There's nothing wrong with being retired. But we're working, and many of us are own businesses, and we need to cross borders to work. And that's why we've set up this little working group. Hi, Zoe, and Jane, and all the guys there. It comes under sort of the umbrella of British in Europe, and but we've got lots of people in the UK as well. And we've been analysing this, and we wrote some notes. I wrote some notes, except my mouse isn't working now for you. But there are primary areas of concern when it comes to cross-border services. And don't forget, those of us living in the EU will be living in the single market, but not able to access it in the way that we did. So those of us running business, there are some options like the EU blue card and long-term residency. But for instance, in my case, I don't fit into those. My husband and I don't fit into that criteria. We wouldn't meet it. So we need to know about future mobility. And we've got this cross-border services, primary areas of concern, right to physically render services and travel for business, data protection, recognition of professional qualifications, client confusion, unease in the light of the lack of an adequately defined single framework. I mean, those are big areas. It's now October. Transition ends on the 31st of December. I mean, it's 81 days left. How does small businesses like ours, know how they're going to, what framework they're going to work through?
Yeah.
So that's why we are keen to help a couple of the Lords with the trade bill, because they want to put in a clause 46 on future mobility, and that's in the House of Lords tomorrow if anyone wants to watch that debate on that clause. So those are just to give you a little idea. I mean, we've got some case studies, but I think you get the picture. I think you know as well, and it's same for UK businesses and UK people, especially in the northeast and Scotland, who travel on a weekly basis, sometimes mostly to the Netherlands and Germany, and travel home on the weekends. I mean, has a huge bearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have lots of friends that do that. Yeah. But like you said, some of the contracts and things were drying up because, you know.
Yeah, well, COVID, of course, doesn't help. Sadly, that's added to it.
Yeah. Oh, we'll look out for that bill tomorrow in the House of Lords then. Yeah. Is there any comments coming through, Jenny, on the social media? Any questions?
I hope they're all clean.
Yeah, so we've had a question in from Tom. He says, have you any knowledge of any EU country, for example, Germany, allowing German nationals easy return to birth country with UK partners without too much complicated permission needed, if that makes sense?
German, British and German, or German?
I think if maybe he's saying that if, say, a German national went to the UK and got married to a British national, and then would it be difficult for that couple to go back to Germany, or just say Germany, for example?
No, if they do it, if they're in the UK now, EU citizens in the UK have the right to return. It's covered in the withdrawal agreement, which then would bring me on to the British in Europe campaign on the immigration bill night, because it doesn't cover us, vice versa. So UK citizens with EU, EEA, Swiss spouses have until March 22 to return to live in the UK, should they wish to. After that, they have to go through the normal UK immigration channels. And that's why British in Europe is running a serious campaign to change that. And we had a bit of a success in the House of Lords last week, and the amendment got put into the bill, and it's now the third reading, and hopefully then that'll all be tidied up and it'll move on to the Commons. And that's when I was going to ask for your help. But I hope that answers Tom's question. Yes, an EU citizen is covered by the withdrawal agreement. As regards to him going to Germany, he would have to go and ask the 3 million together if they go, and British in Europe. I'm not sure about that. But I'm sure if he's a partner spouse of an EU citizen who's covered by the withdrawal agreement, he can return to Germany with her or him.
And he just has one follow-on question. I'm not sure if you will know this, but he's asking how many German citizens are in Scotland. Not sure.
That's one for Jenny.
Yeah.
Bernd, I don't know. Must be quite a few, I think.
A lot, but I don't know how many exactly.
There's a group, isn't there, called Germans in Scotland or something on Twitter? Is it German? There's definitely a Germans in Scotland group on Twitter. Yeah.
I'm going to change my background now. There we are.
Well done.
Save British in Europe. I'm sorry, Tom, if I didn't answer your question properly, but if he wants to contact me afterwards, then I can. It's a bit difficult on the spot. I'm not brilliant with questions, and I prefer the written word. So if he wants to ask me, he's very welcome to send me a message or an email afterwards.
That would be good. Yeah, and you're on Twitter, and you've got your website, Brexpats.
Hear our voice.
Hear our voice. Yeah. Good. And any others, Jenny? Or was that it? Those were good.
Yeah, there's one more question. So obviously in Scotland, there's a big push for Scottish independence. And, you know, there's the theory that maybe Spain would kind of veto that because of the separatist movements going on in Spain, like maybe not the Basque so much anymore, but in Catalonia. Do you have any views on that?
I do, but I'm not sharing them.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I think when it comes to independence, I spoke to Jenny about it last night. When it comes to any matters of Scotland, Wales, Catalonia, as far as I'm concerned, I think I'm better to keep quiet on that. I don't know enough about it anyway. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that one.
Oh no, that's fine. But in terms of then the Spanish government, have they been sympathetic to your cause? Have they been supportive?
Yes, I would say sympathetic to the cause, but they've been very helpful. One of the British in Europe core member groups, Eurocitizens, and ECRU, and ourselves, and some of the other groups, Brexpats in Spain, Remain in Spain, we have regular meetings with the embassy, but Euro citizens especially have meetings with the Spanish government, and I haven't seen any obstacles being put in our way at all by the Spanish government. Very helpful, as have the British Embassy actually in Spain. You know, there's nothing I can say that's derogatory there.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, my uncle.
I just have one more. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, on you go.
So I just have one more question. So my friend is an Irish person living in Scotland, and she has a bank account in a Danish bank, and they apparently told her that she has to close her bank accounts because of Brexit. So have you come across any issues like that?
Oh yes, that's happening with quite a few. We've got quite a few issues for British citizens living in the EU with UK bank accounts. There's some sort of restructuring going on. It's worth having a look at British in Europe. They've got a little bit on their website about it, and some of the other groups, and also some. I think it was in the Netherlands. One of the banks was closing accounts. I don't know if that's got anything to do with Brexit, but certainly there is an ongoing issue. Barclaycard and the Lloyds Group, I think, are closing accounts.
Scary. That's really scary. And in terms of getting your pensions. You know, say if British citizens or maybe they're retired to Spain, like if they have any issues getting the pensions, do you think?
No, well, I mean, you can have your pension paid into a euro account, but then of course you're losing the exchange rate. So,
but that would happen anyway, would it?
That would, yeah, and you know, lots of people live outside of the EU and they have their pension paid in the rest of the world, but you're at the. It depends on the exchange rate, and it is, you know, a lot of people are on, you know, low income, so every penny counts. You know, it's tough for some people at the moment. Very tough, especially our vulnerable group. You know, people are vulnerable, and we you know, I'd just like to touch on the stereotyping. You know, I live in Spain, and across Europe since this referendum, I'd like to make the point, and I know you guys know it, that freedom of movement is not a one-way street. I mean, this conversation about migration in the UK is pretty unhealthy, especially when it comes to EU migration. There are 5 million British citizens living across the world. It's the largest diaspora of all the European countries. 1.2 million of us live in the EU. And freedom of movement has made it easier for lots of different types of people to move. So we're not all wealthy, gin sipping in the sun. You know, it's different now. And I think the point wasn't made enough that EU freedom of movement allowed people to go two ways. And I'm sad to see the end of it. I really, really am. Like all of us, it's a terrible shame. It's a tragedy, really, that people didn't understand what the meaning of freedom is, not just going on holiday. Yeah. Sorry, rant over.
Yeah. No, it's been such an opportunity for so many people. Yeah.
Yes, like myself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I changed my background.
Well, you were also going to tell us about the in Limbo project.
So, and also before I forget, whoever's watching, please, and the British in Europe with this campaign, when the bill goes back to the Commons, many of us don't have representation. I don't know if anyone knows this in the UK. Many of us were not able to work, like the EU, to vote in the referendum or the general election, because you lose your vote after you've lived outside the UK for 15 years, unlike some other countries. And like France and Germany, you have vote for life. France even has MPs for their citizens overseas. But of course, in the UK, you can't. So many people couldn't vote in the referendum, and it directly affected their lives, and they couldn't vote in the general elections. So what's happened is, British in Europe, we need to write to MPs to ask them to support keeping this amendment in the bill, so that we can return home with our EU, EEA partners should we need to in the future. But we haven't got MPs. Some of us still have, we've still got that, but we just wondered if people would go to the British in Europe website, have a look. The wonderful Jane Stevenson from the Yellow Rose project, she's written and she's encouraging her supporters to write on our behalf as well to their MPs. And on the British in Europe website, it tells you how to do it, and it gives you some a toolkit on what to do. We'd be ever so grateful if you wouldn't mind if some could help us out with that. That would be great. So that's that. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to go on. I'm going to change my background. I might disappear. The Limbo project. I hope you all know about it. It's the most amazing project. It was started by my friend. It was the founder, Elena Ramiji, and it involves Brexit testimonies from EU citizens living in the UK. So that's the first book, In Limbo. And then Elena approached us and we collaborated on the second book, In Limbo 2. And I'm actually going to hold the books up now because I love them. So that's actually looks blue, but that's In Limbo, the new version. Can you see it?
If you stay still, we can see it. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And it's got a new chapter on settled status. So that's the new edition. And the book launch on the 15th of October is for this book. Which is moving, wonderful. And the whole idea was to change hearts and minds by telling human stories. And I think it's an amazing project. And then this is our book, In Limbo 2. And we should have the new edition out next month, middle of next month, and then a webinar as well following on from that. But if you can see the screen behind me, Ian Dunt, most of you know who Ian Dunt is, and he'll be speaking there along with very stellar casts. So you can see the names there. So please do join in if anybody wants to, and it'll be a wonderful evening. But yes, I mean, sadly, the books have had to be written, and there's a wonderful team behind the scenes, and there's so many of them to mention. Everybody's hardworking. It's not for profit, and hopefully it'll change hearts and minds even now. And that's the whole point of it.
Good. And where can we find that? At 8 o'clock? And is it online or?
Yeah, it's there is. I think it's like this. It's Zoom, and you have to register. And I think places are filling up very quickly. And I do believe it's on Facebook Live as well.
Okay,
but
so
if you
go
Google
to the In Limbo website,
inlimboproject.org, that'll
right.
take you to the website, and then there's details on there, or you can go to the Google it in the Facebook group and a Facebook page.
Okay, that'd be good. Okay, excellent. And just while we're on that topic, Bernd, who's doing the technical things this evening, has a film on the same sort of thing called Vagabondo. I think it's still going through like film festivals and things, but you might be quite interested then to see that when it's out. So
I'd love to.
Some testimonies from about 6 different people as well. So
great,
EU
send it to me
in the UK. Yeah, definitely. I'll send you a link. So yeah, it's sad we had to collect all these stories, isn't it? And
I know.
For people, so many changes to people's lives, and yeah. So. Anything else you'd like to say this evening? Or I think a lot, haven't we?
I know we have. I'm just having a look now. I can't see where's my notes. No, I think we've done stereotyping. Please don't stereotype us. Not you. The court case, a little bit about In Limbo. Obviously, I mean, I could go on all night. There's no shutting me up. But and I'm just so grateful to you and everybody, and certainly my team at Brexpats. They're absolutely amazing. And I just want to say that because of them, we won the European Citizens Prize in 2017. And all the members, it's been a really rewarding experience, actually, running this group, and I'm very proud of them all. So I just want to say thanks to the team at Brexpats. And if I say them all now, I'll forget somebody, so I'm not going to say their names. Better to be safe than sorry. They know who they are.
Yeah. Oh, well done, everyone, and good luck to everyone who's involved. Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, thank you this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for watching.